Go live. Hello, hello, hello. It is Cassandra Terry. I've got my brother in with me, Brian Smart, Mr. Content, and today is Transformation Tuesday. So we're going to give you guys a chance to join us. Let's see, DMM 1079. Welcome, welcome. We are getting started. We are getting started. And second day of the week. So I hope you guys have had a wonderful week already and got off to a good start. Good morning, Deborah. Good to see you here. Always good to see you, my friend. Let's see. Pinky, Maria Michelle, welcome, welcome, welcome. We will be getting started in just a moment. So you guys come in, get comfortable, and we are going to talk about transformation. Good morning. Thank you, Deborah. We're going to talk about transformation. And today, like most of last week, we're going to start with a quote. Mr. Content, you want to introduce yourselves while we're getting started?
Absolutely, of course. Hello, hello, hello. Grand Rising, everyone. So glad everyone was able to join us. It's brisk Monday morning down here in the southeast portion of the U.S. It's a great day to be alive. I text my uncle first thing this morning. It's like something we do every day to show our appreciation for waking up and having each other as family. He's my closest living relative, so that's something that we do to kind of keep each other motivated.
That's awesome.
For those of you, what'd you say, Cassandra?
I said that's awesome.
Oh yeah, he's a cool guy. I mean, he's one of the coolest guys ever for real. He's like the Billy D. Williams of real life.
The
Like
Billy
if
D.
Billy D.
Williams of
Williams
real
had an
life.
idol, it'd be my uncle.
I need to meet this uncle.
I'm telling you, this cat is cool, man. But for those of you that don't know me, I'm Brian Smart, Mr. Content, aka the Dadpreneur. I'm a content strategist and leadership developer. I've been in this game of web engineering, software developing, UX strategizing, UI designing for over 23 years. I've written a book about my exploits as a full time dad and entrepreneur. Um, it's entitled The Road to Influence Thought Progressive Leadership. What else? I'm also the founder of Content Creation University. It's how and where I help C suite execs, thought leaders, parentpreneurs, uh, entrepreneurs develop and master content storytelling to build trust in crowded spaces like this to help you gain visibility and turn your conversations into conversions. So
Right.
that's a little bit about me. I don't want to bore you. I'll pass it back over to you, Miss
All
Cassandra.
right, all right. And I'm reading Brian's book right now, and it is excellent. And when I started my journey on social media, like a lot of people, I started for fun and for connection. It was Facebook first, and it was to get connected with family and friends, and people I had grown up with, but we were had been far apart for years, and so it was great to have that connection. But now that I've tied it into my business, having a strategy and understanding content and how it can all tie together, how you can show up as your genuine self, and take who you are and what it is you provide as a product or service and tie that all together has been an interesting journey because I kind of backed into it. It wasn't the original intent. So a lot of what I've done has been trial and error, so it's been really good to form this relationship with Brian and learn more about how I could actually be effective in what I'm using. Termillion, thank you so much for the follow. Can you please read my books? Thanks for sharing, Kimber. So I'll be interested in knowing more about your books. So if you want to drop a comment and or even leave me a message, with a link to your books or what they're about, I would love to know more. And you are reaching us from Oregon. I'm in Texas, and Brian is in Mississippi. So welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so we are going to. I'll be looking for that comment with the links to your books. I'm interested in knowing what you write about. I love to read. All right, so we are going to start with a quote this morning to kick off our conversation, and then we'll have a little bit of back and forth between Brian and I. We'll see if any more of the Fam Five is going to join us before we wrap up. Well, I see one joining us now. Let me add Eric to the stage. And for you guys on TikTok and on um, Instagram, unfortunately, you can't see my screen. So I actually have a group of folks with me. You only see me, but hopefully you see them very well, or at least hear them very well. Um, and hopefully, eventually, that part of IG and TikTok will open up for me, and I can integrate that into my tool as well. And you guys will be able to see the crew, folks on. If you're watching from YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, you're able to see the screen and hear them. But the other folks just have audio. So if for any reason you guys on TikTok or Instagram are having trouble hearing them, just leave me a comment and I will let them know to turn up the volume a little bit for you. So we're going to get started with the quote for today. Welcome, Eric. We're glad you were able
Morning, good
to
morning.
join us. Good morning.
Morning,
I,
Brian.
he said good
Good
morning
morning,
to
my
you as
brother.
well,
Grand
Brian.
Rising.
What's going on, Brian? How you doing this morning, brother?
Oh man, I'm still trying to get myself together, man. I had an amazing dream last night and I didn't get to finish it. I'm still thinking about it.
I
I think
understand. I'm
he's
gonna
trying to
stand
go
up
back
on that
in.
one.
He's going to go back to sleep and see if he can finish that dream, I think. So we're going to have to try to keep him entertained so we don't lose him.
Well, I look
All
forward
right.
to him finishing that dream.
It's a good one. He was sharing it with me
I
Hmm.
before
want
we
to.
started.
I bet. I bet.
So, all right, let's get started with our quote, and it's from Dr. Joe Dispenza. Transformation is a process that must be embraced. It's a marathon, not a sprint. To transform, you have to be willing to shed your old self and become a new person. So, I'll read that once more.
Mm.
Transformation is a process that must be embraced. It's a marathon, not a sprint. To transform, you have to be willing to shed your old self and become a new person. And that's Dr. Joe Dispenza. So I'm gonna kick it to you guys in a moment and see how that quote grabbed you and what you'd like to share with everybody. But for me, I think the important thing is the fact that it's a marathon, not a sprint. We are, a part of a time in the world where everything is in sound bites, and if you can't do it in 60 seconds or less, you can't keep people's attention. And so we're taught to hurry, 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 do more, quicker, quicker, quicker. And so we often don't have the patience for what it actually takes for us to create the life that it is that we desire. So just reminding ourselves that we have to slow down, we have to check in with ourselves every now and then and encourage ourselves. If you look back from where you started, you can realize just how much you've accomplished already. We're usually comparing ourselves to someone else's journey, someone else's story, or we're not looking at all. We're just frustrated because we haven't gotten to that end goal. But you may not be where you want to be yet. And that's okay. We're still stretching, growing, evolving. But realize that you are also not where you started. I'm better today than I was yesterday. I'm much better today than I was last month, last year. So from birthday to birthday, I'm not the same person. And if you can say that about yourself, recognize the progress that you've made and let that encourage you as well to keep going, to realize that progress over perfection is going to get you where you want to go every single time. Deborah said, yes, each year I'm better. Me too.
Hmm.
And it's a conscious choice, though. We make decisions, garbage in, garbage out. value in, value out. So we were just
Absolutely.
talking about books. What are we reading? What are we watching? Who are we spending our time with? How are we developing our skills? All of those things are ways that we develop and grow. And some of it we take for granted. It's such a part of kind of our day to day that we don't even realize that we've gotten better. I know my temperament is much calmer now than it used to be, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago. And I recognize I was talking about that recently because there were certain things that used to trigger me and I would immediately have a negative reaction. And now I notice some of those things cropping up and they're not nearly as big of a deal. The external hasn't changed. The same thing may happen, but how I respond to it is so much different. And part of the reason that it's different is because I'm actually responding instead of reacting. I actually give myself a beat. I take a moment. I can take give myself the space to process and think before I just blurt out or react to whatever's going on around me. That's maturity, that's growth. And I think we need to be able to talk about that with ourselves. You have to learn to encourage yourself, lift yourself up, realize the progress that you're making, and be okay speaking that over yourself. Speak life into you, over you, around you, about you. It's not what we're taught. We're taught that it's for somebody else to compliment. It's for somebody else to tell you what you're doing well. And what if they don't? Where does that leave you? You should be able to look back at the reflection in the mirror. And I see me in three places. So I get to talk to me here, here, and here. But when I look at myself, I actually like her. She's my friend. I'm her friend. I'm her advocate. I want the best for her. I want the best for me. And I want everybody. My deepest desire is for everybody to look in the mirror and feel that way. I didn't always. That's not a forever comment. That's newer. It takes work. It takes going inside and being willing to do the work, to do the transformation. The person that I was meek and mild and small, afraid to afraid to be bigger for fear of making a mistake, for fear of being made fun of, for fear of whatever. Fear of failure,
Ooh,
all of
give
those
it to
things.
him. Give it
They
to
held
him.
they held me back. And
Hmm.
once you know what's holding you back, instead of being upset with yourself, that's a place to mark and go, okay, here's
Hmm.
my baseline. Now I've got something to measure against. I'm not measuring against somebody else. I'm never going to be Brian. I'm never going to be Eric. I'm never going to be Jay. That job's already taken. It's my responsibility to be the best version of me that I can
Hmm.
be. And it's an actual responsibility. Life is a gift, right? And when you get that gift, what are you going to do with it? I want to leave here. When I leave here, I want to be surrounded by my family and my friends, and I want to feel like I've left an impact and that my life wasn't wasted. I've got some
Hmm.
clarity. So the things that I spend my time doing, the things that I invest in, my energy, my time, my focus, my funds, whatever the investment is, all of that goes into things that support the larger mission. The larger mission is to leave an impact, to live a life that's worth dying from. Somebody did a whole room about that. Have you lived a life? Are you living a life that's worth dying? And I went, what does that mean? And what she meant by that, and the room was all about at the end, are you able to and I know I'm saying your name wrong. It looks like Cermillion. Um, is saying, living your best life. And I love that phrase, but a lot of times people take it, I'm living my best life, and they're out and they're on the party scene and they're all spruced up and oh, Kimber is you. Okay, Kimber. Thank you. And so living your best life really means exactly what we're talking about right now. Showing up and being the best version of you, right? Being the
Wherever
best version
you
of you, living a life that's worthy of the air that you breathe, the space that you're taking up. And only you can determine that. You determine what that is. Don't let some external force, some should, would, could determine for you what your life should look like. You decide. what that looks like for you, and then you pour everything that you have into it. And when you make a decision to do that, the transformation will happen. You'll see changes in you. Things that used to just tear you up won't be nearly as big of a deal. Things that used to stop you in your track, you'll see a path through and know that you can get through them. That's what that internal talk will do for you. Good morning, Mother. Glad that you were able to join us. Ikechuwu. I know I'm butchering your name as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Where are you joining us from? And the Grand Risings, Queens and Kings. I'm assuming that's you, Brian. Is that you on LinkedIn? Yep. Okay. So let me read the quote once again, and then Brian, we'll go over to you to get your thoughts, and then Eric and Jay. So, transformation is a process that must be embraced. It's a marathon, not a sprint. To transform, you have to be willing to shed your old self and become a new person. Have you ever had a pair of slippers that were just so comfortable that no matter what, you just kept holding on to them? You're at the point to where they're so thin, you're literally walking on the floor. So even the comfort that they used to be is not really there, but it's how you remember them. It's you feel comfortable. They're your old go-to. That's what our old selves are. Even when it's not serving us, it's what we're comfortable with. And sometimes we don't even have the brain turned on enough to realize that we're not living in the purpose that we desire or even know what that purpose is. But I don't want you to get so comfortable in your old self that you're not willing to free it so that you can transform and become the next version of you, the version of you that all that old self has pushed you to, so that you're ready for whatever the next phase of your life is. We're evolving, changing all the time. I've heard people say, "Oh, I'm the same as I was in high school." I hope not. I was so dumb. And I did well in high school, but I was so dumb. In college, I thought I had it all together. Dumb. New mom had all the answers. Dumb. In every phase of my life, I'm sure that I'm dumb right now to a certain extent. The 60-year-old me, the 70-year-old me is going to look back at this me and go, girl, dumb. But you show up doing the best that you can for the season that you're in, and then you allow yourself, you're open for the transformation, you're open to learn, you're open to change, and we continue to grow and evolve. Nadia said, stop it. You know what I mean, Nadia. I don't want to get stuck. This version of me is great for this season, but I hope that I continue to live and I continue to evolve. And there's a new version that's coming as a part of that evolution, as a part of spending time with you guys, as a part reading your comments, learning, studying to prepare for these events, whatever the case may be. Things are coming in, and hopefully, I'm integrating the goodness from those things so that I become the next version of myself. There's mom to the rescue. You have never been dumb with a whole bunch of exclamation points. You know what I mean, mom. You can look back. You can look back at some times where I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, especially those teenage years. But I appreciate there's nobody gonna go to bat for you like your mom, even if she's beating you up for beating up yourself. She's not gonna let it slide. So I appreciate you, mother. Nadia said, yes, ma'am. Love what you're preaching. All right, Brian. So hopefully you can still remember the quote. I can repeat it if you'd like, but if you're ready, go ahead and unmute and share with us what's on your mind this morning.
This is a great conversation. I always love about talking about transformation and it being a marathon and not a sprint and enjoying the process. We get so caught up looking to where we want to go that we forget about how much fun it is getting there. When I first got started on social media, it wasn't from a first shooter perspective. I've always been behind the scenes creating these apps, building up other companies and building up other brands. And when I started, unlike you, Cassandra, I got started with the intent of building a profitable personal brand. That was my whole goal for getting started because I saw how lucrative the space was. But I also knew that this was completely out of my character, out of my forte. This wasn't something that I was accustomed to doing. So, yeah, I embraced the fact that it was a process. I knew that it was going to be phase one, phase two, phase three, phase four. And I also knew that it would be fun getting there. I didn't expect to get there overnight. I didn't expect to get there without some disappointment and some failure. Ever since I started this journey, it has been ups and downs, good days, bad days. But the transformation is what I'm focusing on, not the actual destination, right? The journey itself
How
is what is really driving me.
how has the ups and downs, the so-called failures and things affected your transformation? What role has failure played in that process?
It's an inspiration for me, and I'm not just saying that. I know it sounds like a cliche, and I know that sounds like what you're supposed to say, but I've had some really bad days,
Mhm.
these 47 years. And
We finally know how old Brian is, y'all.
I knew she was gonna do that, Jay. I knew she was
We
gonna do
finally
that.
got him. He's been the mystery age
I,
in the group. So the last
I
mystery
started
has
not to
has
talk down.
shown itself.
Yeah, 47. Can't believe it.
It's those
Anyway,
interview skills.
that's those interview skills he's got. I know, right? She'll pull it out of you.
I'm surrounded by a
But
bunch of babies is what it all comes down to. The old lady in the group.
look, she said old lady. She looks younger than anybody on this stage. I'm
Yeah,
sitting up here,
well,
full gray hair down. I know, right?
I have a very good
Don't rub it
stylist
in,
who
Cassandra.
knows my
Don't
favorite
rub it
color
in.
is chocolate. So the chocolate on the in the roots takes care of some of that.
I feel you. I feel you. We won't be doing any of that. We're just gonna do the gray. But so the journey for me is look at Jay. Look at Jay. Jay, like, yeah, it's all smooth, natural of you. so,
Yes,
so
before I interrupted you with my shenanigans, I wanted to deal with failure and disappointments because it's a
right.
part of every journey, and for some people that can be a devastating part. But for those of us who've had those ups and downs and are still moving forward, we understand the role that it plays. So let me let you get back to talking about that because I think that's important for any transformation journey because when you hit those hard bumps, that's where a lot of people stop and figure out maybe this isn't for me. But
Mm.
right on the other side is that next level. So get back to sharing with them about the role of failure and disappointments in our journey, whatever the journey is.
So, yesterday in the content Q&A room that we have, I talked about the first leg of your strategy, and that being knowing your definite objective.
Hmm.
That for me, that's in life. It's not just content, it's in everything that I do. Wherever you're planning to go, whatever you're planning to do, when you have that definite objective in place, you can plan for failures. I'll give you an example. If you're planning
Okay.
on taking a cross country trip, you plan to have a flat. You may have two flats. So you've got two spares in your trunk, not just one,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
You plan to have to stop multiple times if it's cross country and you're driving so that you can take bathroom breaks. So you
Hmm.
have different places, different stops along the way that you plan to stop at. You know the time that you're going to stop, you know how packed it might be, you know the kind of restroom that's there. You might not be able to get in, you might not want to go in, right? When you have your objective set, then you have a plan for the failure. So you expect for it to go the opposite of the way you wanted to go. You
Hmm.
expect to fail in this instance because I've never been here before. I've never done this before. This is the extent of the journey that I'm taking. If I expect to go to Sambala and track down a treasure, I'm not expecting to go track down that treasure without any obstacles in my way. I'm expecting
Right.
lions, bears, tigers, all of this, right? Killer mosquitoes to come at me because of the journey, because of the objective that I've set for myself. So when I say I
Mm-hmm.
go into it expecting the process, expecting to embrace the process, it's because I knew what destination I had for myself, what objective I had for my journey. The greater the journey, the greater the objective, the more you can expect to fail, right? If you're going outside and all you're doing is cutting a 10 by 10 foot with a push mower, you don't really expect to have that many problems. If you go outside and you have 30 acres to cut and you're taking a tractor, you're expecting to run into some issues. I might run over a tree stump. I might get a flat. I might run out of gas. Depending on where you're going, that's going to determine how much failure you have to take on, how much failure you have to expect. Nothing is wrong with failure. We've been taught the opposite of failure. Failure
Mm-hmm.
is there to strengthen you for the next battle so that you can understand how best to handle it. So when I say I expect failure, I don't just expect it. That's not that I necessarily enjoy it, but I'm embracing it. And I know what it's doing when I'm having to go through it. So, like I said, that process is something that as a culture we've been taught to push to the side. We just want to get
Right.
there. Well, I say it all the time to my kids. We're living in a microwave society, but we're living in a crock pot world. We're
I
living in
love
a
that.
microwave society, but we're living in a
Quick,
crock
quick,
pot
quick.
world,
Slow and steady. Yep.
right? And that's
Yep.
not what it is.
Yep.
This is simmering. This is
Yep.
taking the time to embrace and enjoy and breathe
Love that.
in and take in everything that this life has to offer. And you miss
Mm-hmm.
out on it when you put it in that microwave. You ever had and I'll just give you a real quick example. Oatmeal in the microwave versus oatmeal on top of the stove. It's two different flavors,
Too different.
two
Yeah.
different consistencies, two different enjoyment levels. Everything is different.
Texture. Yeah.
So texture, exactly. Everything's different. That's that idea of rushing it. I really do not like to rush as much. I woke up this morning and the first thing that I looked at was a picture of my youngest daughter. And we took a couple
Mm-hmm.
of pictures the other day. We had our Nike jumpsuits on. We went for a walk and I see her. She's growing up. She's growing into a little woman. And I remember when she was first born, how small she was, and she still had the same look on her face, but now she's got an attitude. Now she's got more movement. Now she's got more, I'm gonna do this, dad, and you can't stop me, right? So
Right.
I thought to myself at that moment, this is the process. That was a whole process. I didn't expect her to start off being where she is now. And
Right.
everything that went along from age 0 to age 6 has been it's been an enjoyable journey, the good and the bad. And we have to look at our own lives like that, not just the lives of others, but our own
Mm-hmm.
lives.
Exactly.
I made a post about it for the room. You, Lachelle, Denise, and Ronnie are doing this afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody sees the check and the success. Nobody sees what's beneath the
Right.
surface. That
Right.
surface level that looks great, but it's all of that stuff that goes on up under there that makes that surface level look like what it is. That's that process. That's the part of life that people want to say, I don't have to do that, or I don't want to go through that. That's the good part. That's the building
Mm-hmm.
up part. If it wasn't for that, we would never be here. So embrace the journey, embrace the failure,
Embrace the
embrace
journey.
the trauma, the all of that, right? Because that's what's building you up to be who you are. So that's it. I
Exactly.
didn't mean to be long
Exactly.
winded, but this is a topic I can talk about all day.
When I was putting it together last night, I think I was talking to Eric or maybe Jay, and I was like, "Oh, Transformation Tuesday, I've got to pull it together. That's Brian's favorite day, his favorite topic." So I knew you were going to be ready. We've had some great comments coming in as you were talking. My mom said, "Preach, Brian." Let me go all the way
Thanks,
back.
Mom.
He said, "Thanks, mom." We've got a good morning all to Camille, and she says, "Oh, the transformation, not the destination. Powerful." Olu says the interesting thing that I think gets slightly overlooked as we all deal what we call life is the fact that we are all constantly in the process of transformation. It never ends until we leave this world. Good morning, Sonia. Camille says you have to fail to scale and know what your
Right.
success is. So you have to have clarity, your own definition. We talked about that in the beginning of what success is for you. And if you're scaling, there will be some failure along the way. And Brian, when you were talking, I couldn't help but to think about, I've got this online course, the 6 C's, to transform, to overcome self-limiting beliefs. And the one of the latter C's, number 5, is about conquer. And in that conquer phase, it's about understanding that the obstacles are coming, the failures are going to happen, but having that mindset that you were talking about. We all need to have a spare tire for whatever journey we're on. Our car came with 5 tires, although it only needs 4 to roll, right? That fifth tire
Mm-hmm.
is that safety net for when life happens. So you need a spare tire in all the aspects of your life because things are going to happen. No matter how good you are, no matter how chosen, how blessed, however you see it, obstacles will come, trials will come, tough days will show up. But when you know that you're committed to your destination and you're clear about what that is, you pull out the spare tire. It's work. You got to jack that car up. You have to get the lug nuts off. You got to pull that big heavy sucker off, put the new one on, do the
Mm-hmm.
same, tighten that up, drop the car. It's work. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying it like I can really do it. I In my mind I can, but I hope I don't ever have
Mm-hmm.
to. I
Mm-hmm.
was shown
Mm-hmm.
how to do it, but I've never been in that situation, knock on wood, where I've actually had to, in the, the real sense. My husband or somebody was always there to do the muscle. But in life, there have been many places where I've had a flat tire. I've had a flat
Mm-hmm.
tire in my attitude. I've had a flat tire in my career. I've had flat tires in relationships. I've had flat tires in how I saw myself. And the only way to overcome that was for me to do the work to reinflate my tire, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
was. And
Mm-hmm.
we all, if we go into life understanding, if we go into new situations understanding, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. You are
Mm-hmm.
operating in your comfort zone. You are not pushing yourself. You're not stretching. Because when you start to do that, you have to do the uncomfortable. You have to show up and do things that you've never done before. And it's uneasy, but know
Mm-hmm.
that you're able to reinflate your tire. You really are. Know that, understand that, believe that. And that way, when you hear the air oozing out, you don't have to freak out quite so much. It doesn't have to be such a devastating experience. You can stop and go, okay, I hear there's a leak. I can hear it. All right, the road's getting a little bumpy. I've lost enough air that I can't even roll the way I'm accustomed to rolling. It's time for me to do some repair, and you just give
Mm-hmm.
yourself grace and you take the space and time needed to reinflate your tire. We should be doing that on a regular basis. Sometimes it's just our energy level flat. I'm exhausted. I didn't get enough sleep. I had a bad conversation with somebody that I love. Things aren't going well on the job. Whatever it is, realize that your tire's flat. It may not be completely flat, but you can hear the air oozing out. Don't let it get completely flat. If you let it get completely flat, you ruin your rim. Now you've got more damage. It takes you more time to repair and get back on the road. As soon as you start
Mm-hmm.
to hear that oozing, stop and
Mm-hmm.
start repairing, start
Mm-hmm.
refilling and getting yourself back on track. That's what being tapped in is. That's what knowing yourself and knowing your situation, allowing yourself to feel your feelings, and instead of pushing them down or judging them, embracing them, meeting them where they are, and doing the work to get yourself back on track. That's what it's all
Mm-hmm.
about. Reinflate your
Mm-hmm.
tire, whatever your tire is. So we've had a few more
Hey,
people. Yeah,
Cassandra,
go ahead,
let,
Brian.
let, me, let me jump in right quick. I can talk
Absolutely.
about this all day. I'm gonna tap in, and I'm gonna also say I'm gonna bring out a little bit of Jayism in me.
Uh-oh.
When we think about life, when we look at that fifth wheel, and you know about that fifth wheel, you down there in Texas, that fifth wheel for for a life experience, a life journey, I really believe that fifth wheel is your faith, right? Because as
Exactly.
much as you plan, as much as
Exactly.
you know, prepare. Look at him. I knew it was real when Eric
You and my
stood up.
mom were right in sync because right when you were starting, she said, "Hit those knees."
Okay, that's your fifth wheel. Because you know, as much as you would like to think you got it all worked out, all mapped out, when it comes to life, you don't know. You don't know what's coming next. You don't know how it's coming at you.
Right.
The only thing you really have to lean on is your faith. And I man, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there. I don't want to take up time, too much
No,
time. I'm
you're
gonna leave it
good.
there.
You're good. As much as we have to do the internal work, that internal work for it to really be what it could be requires that vertical connection.
That
So
faith.
yeah,
You
you
know,
and your
I
you
wouldn't be here now sitting on this panel with these amazing, beautiful spirits had I not had the faith. When I first got started on this whole content journey and taking what I learned and putting my face in front of the screen, I had no idea how this was going to map out. I expected to
right,
have failure. I expected to not know what I was doing. I expected people to be like, oh, who is this guy? He's a nobody. You know, he didn't know what he's talking about. I expected all of
mhm,
that. And I didn't know how the creator was going to put it all together to make it make sense. But I had
right.
that fifth wheel in place. I had
There
that
you
faith.
go. I love it. I love it. Thank you for bringing that aspect in, Brian. I want to repeat what Camille said because we like rhymes and it helps us to remember things. She said you have to fail to scale. Scale is evolving, growing, whatever it is that you're doing. And part of that process is failure. And when you expect that, you understand that you what you want to do when you experience a difficulty, a failure, all you're having is results that are different than what you anticipated. That's what a failure is. You expected a particular outcome and it didn't go that way. So that's a prime opportunity for learning and growing. You look at that. Well, why didn't it go that way? What can I do differently the next time to get the outcome that I was shooting for? You have a conversation about your failure. You ruminate, meditate on it, figure out what it is teaching you, and you integrate those lessons into your life. And then going forward, you go forward stronger, wiser because you have the learning from that quote unquote failure. Welcome, Pam. I see you there, my friend. We haven't seen each other in a while. Olu says the thing is, transformation takes place whether we like it or not. The difference is that we choose to take it head on and try to direct the outcome. We end up closer to who we want to be and love being as opposed to resisting and not taking definite steps to direct the final outcome. Olu preaching this morning. And Camille said, "Ooh, Brian, come through with the sayings. Living in a microwave world, in a living in a microwave versus a crock pot. What a great perspective." And let's see what else we have here. Olu says, I swear to you all, it does get easier, but that fear, panic that one feels in one's tummy, that tightening seems to never completely go away when you hit a storm or a really extended air pocket. It's scary as hell. And then he says, as the Bible says, do we sin so that grace would abound? I liken it to the discussion on transformation and how failure ties into every transformation process. Y'all dropping gems this morning. Y'all dropping gems, and I certainly appreciate y'all. Let's see, what do we have on Instagram? Deborah was referring to when my mom corrected me and said I was never dumb. Said there's nothing like a mother. Camp Round Rock in the house. Hello, hello, hello. Let's see. Sabrina says, good morning, Cassie. Good morning, my love. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining. We've got a lot of folks joining in on TikTok as well. Welcome, everybody. We are talking about transformation. Every Tuesday, transformation is the topic. And I am going to reread our quote of the day. And then, Eric, we will kick it over to you for your thoughts. Transformation is a process that must be embraced. It's a marathon, not a sprint. To transform, you have to be willing to shed your old self, and become a new person. And that's from Dr. Joe Dispenza. So, Eric, come off mute and tell us how what that quote or brings to you, or just what's on your mind this morning.
It made me think of, first of all, thank you. Good morning. I went to
Good
sleep talking
morning.
to the same folks I woke up talking to. So I
Yeah, it's
feel
kind
so
of that way,
aligned
right?
and in a beautiful space. Yeah. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate you. I did go to sleep, sir. I look forward to getting back started this morning. Um, yeah, when you talked about the marathon, it made me think of the first marathon I prepared for and how just unprepared I was for that, for that experience. Running a marathon, you really have to prepare yourself and your body and your for the time it takes to complete that marathon. You're consistently moving, unless you're stopping to eat, sleep, or use the bathroom. But
Right.
those are the
Right.
only reasons. Um, my first marathon was outside of Charlotte, and I forgot my shoes. I literally left my shoes at home. Got down there, couldn't find the shoes, and said, "Okay, I can't not run the marathon. I'm running the marathon, so I had to find some shoes." I went to use Play It Again Sports, and they had shoes that were like two sizes too small for me. But I tore out the inside, the soles. I broke it out. I really stretched it, and I just made it work. And it was sore, but I made it work, and it was. I wouldn't advise it. Make sure you got your shoes before you run a marathon. But all in all, you have to prepare your mind to run a marathon. Whether you
Yeah.
again your shoes don't work or you don't feel, your muscles are tight or you're not feeling the best, you're not hydrated the best, whatever excuse you can make for yourself, whatever excuse that can happen in life. I chose in that moment that it didn't matter what happened, I was going to run and I was going to do my best. And that was just my attitude in life, regardless of what occurred, that you do your best, you show up and you do your best. And so when I'm 50 and I look back at going to a marathon without my shoes, I'll say, man, I was stupid. Right, I made some bad decisions. I wasn't as prepared as I could have been. But in every day showing up, doing my best, pat myself on the back for running it instead of making the excuse, and showing up and just keep consistently showing up. God will take care of the rest. You have faith. You take care of the rest by, again, just showing up and doing your best. I think Brian did a great job in saying that, and he does such a amazing job representing that every day when we hear him with his daughter. And so
Yeah.
it encourages us. B, you light up the world with her. It's like, we just freeze. Whatever we're doing, we freeze when she comes on stage, which or comes on camera with you. So definitely want to throw you your flowers. Jay, I could throw you flowers all day. Thanks for the presentation help. Thanks for staying up late and handling my insecurities and concerns with love and kindness, brother. Really, you're the kindest brother I know, man. I appreciate you. And sis, the cover, the interview later. I've been calling you Gail since last night. I can't wait for our interview. I have to take care of Bahab right now at our 9 o'clock room,
Yep.
but
Yep.
I love y'all, and we'll be back on before we even start that. So y'all take care. I'll see y'all soon.
We'll see you over there. Thanks. All right. So that was my brother Eric Clark. He's going to kick off his room with another co-host. Y'all, we stay busy. We stay busy. Sharing, pouring, receiving, however it happens is how it happens. But we definitely stay busy. And I love what he shared, his actual marathon experience, because there was so much preparation as part of it. Do you have your shoes? Are you prepared for this journey that you're getting ready to go on? And when you don't have everything that you need, what attitude are you bringing with you? Are you buckled down and ready to figure out how to overcome the obstacles? Or do you throw in the towel and say, well, I don't have my shoes, so the race is over for me before it even got started? It's a mindset. It's a mindset. How committed are you to the life that you want? When you're focused on solution and not the issue at hand, the problem, then you'll find a way. You will absolutely find a way. So let's see, Dr. Leslie, Brian, I think you respond. Oh yeah, you responded. You saw the comment. So we'll keep going. Jay, are you ready to share with us what's on your heart this morning? Oh, Jay, we can't hear you. Yep, you know volume. I can see your lips moving. He said, "Oh man, I can read your lips." Nothing yet. All right, keep trying. While Jay's working out his audio issues, let me read the quote one more time. Transformation is a process that must be embraced. It's a marathon, not a sprint. To transform, you have to be willing to shed your old self and become a new person. And that shedding of our old self is not easy. It's not easy. We're holding on. And look what I did. As soon as I said holding on, both fists tight, clenched. When you're holding on, you're not in a position to receive. You're not in a position to receive. How do we get in a position to receive? We let go of our expectation of outcome. We do the right thing, even when nobody's looking. We do what it is that we're supposed to do. We get clarity on what it is that we were trying to accomplish. We get clarity, so we're clear about the road that's ahead of us, the trip that we're about to take. And then we build a plan to make that trip. You map it out. Here's point A. Here's where I'm starting. Here's where I'd like to be. What do I have to do to get from point A to point B? You map out your plan. And then at some point in time, you've got to put the pedal to the metal. You actually have to implement and put some energy behind and get your actions in place and actually start to work your plan. Break that plan down into actionable steps and every day be committed to doing something. Even if it's just one thing, do something every day that's going to move you closer to your destination. And if you're doing that, you're going to get there. It's guaranteed. You will make it. It's when we are like this, tight fist, holding on to what we have right now. That's a mindset of lack, a lack mindset. If I let go, what if nothing else comes? If I let go, what if I have less than what I started with? If I let go, what if I fall? When you're operating out of lack, you're not in a position to receive. You will stay in a place of lack. The world is abundant. It doesn't feel like it all the time, but it sustains itself. Everything that the world needs is here. We have everything inside of us to accomplish and have everything that we desire. We really do, even when it doesn't feel like that. You tap into your source. You look in the mirror and know yourself. You understand that you're worthy, you're deserving, you're capable, and you do the work. And if you're willing to do that, and if you're following the path that was uniquely created for you, we all have one, at least one, and you know when you're on it because you're more joyful. You would do it even if you didn't get paid for it. It's something that you seem to naturally have a knack for. I've been talking my whole life, y'all. And there was a time when I was just shaking, trembling every time I had to grab a microphone. But I couldn't not grab it. There was something in me that it was just a part of what I did. I was always going to be one up front and talking, raising my hand in class, sharing. I can't not do that. I have to temper myself so that I don't go, so that I make space for everybody else. I learned to do that. But I've never not been the one to raise my hand and speak up and have a point of view and have. It's just the way I'm wired. It's the way I'm put together because some of that's where my gifting is. Do you know where your gifting is? Have you accepted your gifting? Are you walking in your gifting? There is nothing like it. If you want to know what pure pleasure is, do you if you want to know what what it is to be satisfied and gratified, find your purpose and walk in it. Even if it's just a little while, every day, a little bit of something. You may not be at that point to where you can fully step in, but when you start sneaking in a little here, a little there, your purpose will grow. The opportunity for you to share it will evolve.
Yes.
People who need it will show up. And before you know it, you're like Jay, and you've got a full audience of people who are learning about talents that nobody knew you had. I hear you coming off the mic onto the microphone, brother. So let me go ahead and pitch it over to you and hear what you have to share with us about transformation.
So I've been jumping out my skin and trying to hold myself back because this is everybody was talking and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is me. Let me talk a little bit about it. Um, One of the first things I remember following the tornado and coming close to meeting my creator, right? I thought about how I was going to be able to get out of this. Looking at my children and looking at at my wife's face, I was just stunned, just like I am now. I am looking for the words. What am I going to say? How am I going to go through this? And following the aftermath, it came to be out of my faith and my DNA. I've got this. Those were the words I told myself to be able to push forward following that disaster. By my faith and my DNA, I've got this. Let me start with a quote,
Okay.
a Bible verse,
All right.
like I always do.
Even
Romans,
better than a quote.
right? Romans chapter 12, verse 2.
Okay.
Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by
Mm-hmm.
the renewing of your mind.
Yeah.
Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Sometimes there are things in life that we experience, our storms. It doesn't necessarily have to be an actual tornado, but we experience storms in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And how we come through that, how we experience that. You know, you said something the other day. You said it's the responding versus reacting.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have reacted in such a way that I would continue to be a victim and not a victor. And I chose to be a victor. I reacted in the moment, feeling like a victim, but I
Mm-hmm.
responded by saying, I'm going to be a victor because it was looking in the eyes of my children and looking in the face of my wife that I said, I need to push forward.
You spoke to your storm.
I spoke I spoke to my I actually even saw my storm. A photo was given to us and it was at the moment that my house was being destroyed that this photo of the tornado was actually taken.
Wow.
And our friend said, "I don't know if you want to see this photo." And for a moment I said, "Probably not." But I said, "Let me see this monster. The monster
Mm-hmm.
that changed my life. Let me stare it down. Let me look at it because I don't want to be fixated on that moment in time. I'm not going to be in fear of that. And we have to face our fears in those storms." And so I said, "Show me the photo."
Mm-hmm.
And I stared my monster down. And I sat there looking at this photo and it hit me so hard because I survived.
Right.
when you look your monster in the face and you say, I survived, there's a power in that.
There's power.
There's absolute power. The other thing that came to mind was a quote. This is the quote I was going to talk about.
Hmm.
Um, it was Michael Jordan. I've lost almost 300 games,
I love this quote.
26 times. I've been trusted to take the game winning shot and
And
missed.
missed
I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed.
it.
You know,
Exactly.
if Jordan could fail, right, and then come out as one of the, and some of us might think he is, one of the greatest of all time, the GOAT, you
Hmm.
know, and still have that legendary status. We all have legendary status in us. We just have to step into it. When I
Yes.
when I first started this journey of storytelling, I was a cub reporter, an intern at a cable news station back home on Guam where I'm from, and I was made to be ridiculed on air for before 40,000 listeners
Wow.
on the radio station, ridiculed by the DJ on the other side who heard me speak for the first time on air giving a news report.
Hmm.
And I sped through that news report like I was not in a marathon.
Sprint.
It was a sprint, and he
Let's get
really.
this over with.
Oh yeah, I did. I didn't want to do it. But I was told to, and and wanting to please as a greenhorn or a cub reporter, and not wanting to back down, I took the challenge, and I faced that challenge. And although I was ridiculed on air by the DJ, he was giving me a lesson on air on how to slow down by saying, "Hey, say this: red light, yellow light, green light, go." And he said, "Do this 10 times." And then he started out. He said, "Okay, go faster. Okay, go faster. Okay, go faster." And by the time I was done, I could not say those words or enunciate or give an intonation that anybody could understand. He said, "Now do you understand?" And that put the fear in me
Hmm.
every time I passed that microphone, but it also propelled me.
Hmm.
So I can go back to that moment, and just like the tornado story, I could have been a victim or I could continue to be a victor. And I sat down. I made it a point sometimes. Okay, nobody's around. Let me go over there and crack that mic and get on and do this news report. And I'm going to show that DJ there's not going to be a red light on me.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm going to move forward. So I know we've got a lot to do today, so I'm not going to continue to stay here because just like Brian, I could be here forever. But thank you, Sister Cassandra. This is something that I think everybody needs to hear.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. You almost got me this morning just thinking about that photo and what it must have been like to stare your monster down. And guys, courage courage is not the opposite of fear. I want everybody to understand that and get that in your spirit. Courage is not the opposite of fear. Courage is when we choose to keep moving forward in spite of our fear. You don't have to be in a place to where, oh, I'm so numb to my emotions that I don't even feel this fear. That's not even very human. That's kind of scary, actually. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for that deep connection and connection so that despite the emotion, the human emotion of feeling the fear, you can dig in and take that next step anyway. You can look your monster in the face, whatever it is. You can look your storm in the face. You can speak to your storm and you can say, the winds may be blowing. The lightning may be striking. It's getting dark outside, but there's a light in me. I can still walk my path. I can still keep moving forward. I can still do what's necessary for me to take the next step towards towards the journey that was created for me. All of our journeys are different. They intertwine, and thank God they do. My journey has overlapped beautifully with the guys on stage with me today. We share a lot of space together every day. So our journeys have overlapped and they're intertwined, and we're a part of each other's journey now. But how we got here, so very different. What we bring because of how we got here, so very different. Different skills, different passions, different ways of doing things. And you put us together, and pow, you've got something special, something that neither one of us had on our own. We were good individually, but we're great together. So walk your journey. Be open to those that are going to overlap with you. See the power in the communities that you build and that you interact with. And but despite the fear, despite the storm, despite what's going on externally, if you're connected here and here, if you've got those connections intact, you're able to speak to your storm. It may be cold right now, but I know how to get warm. It may be raining outside, but I can grab an umbrella. My tire is flat, but I know how to change it and get my spare. Speak to your storm. Find your strength, even if it's that mustard seed size. Find your faith, find your strength, and take the next step. You will never regret that step, any steps you take towards your destiny. So just keep moving. Don't get stuck in your storm. Don't stay in your storm. Move through your storm, and you will have a life of no regret. We have a few more comments, and then we're going to wrap it up so we can go support our brother Eric. Let's see. Veronica, thank you. I appreciate you all. Glad you stay motivated for us. Thank you, Veronica. And she said, temper my leadership. Don't be afraid to let others lead. It's so important that we create spaces. Good morning, Medki. Mekdi. It's very important for us to create spaces for others to come into their selves as well. A safe space for people to stretch and grow, to make mistakes and figure things out, and know that they still have somebody that's on that journey walking with them. So yes, I think that's important, to temper my leadership and not to be afraid to let others lead. I learn from others every single day. Let's see. Veronica also said there's power in survival, and courage is not the opposite of fear. I think that's Brian. Uh, Success is not the opposite of failure. Success is the result of the correct use of failure. I love that. That is a great place for us to end. Success is not the opposite of failure. Success is the result of the correct use, the learning, the integrating, the getting stronger from our failure. So thank you for that, Brian. With that, guys, we are going to wrap up our Transformation Tuesday. I want to thank Jay and Brian and Eric for being with me, and all of you guys across TikTok and LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. I see somebody's joining from each of those platforms, and I'm so glad that you guys were here. We will be back tomorrow at the same time, 7:15 a.m. Central. And tomorrow is Wednesday, Wake Up Wednesday. So on tomorrow, we will be talking about being intentional and the power of intentionality. So with that, we're going to close. You can find all of us on LinkedIn by our names. And we will each put in the event our websites or easy ways for you guys to get in contact with us. I'm a life coach focused on mindset, here to help if you're struggling with any of the things that we talked about. Jay, our fantastic storyteller, and Brian, Mr. Content, he has a wonderful book out on influence, and it weaves in his dadpreneur. He's a dadpreneur, so he talks about being a dad and building a business and how he's maneuvered all of that. We have lots of rooms on LinkedIn where you guys can catch us at different times. So we hope to continue to interact with you all. And we'll see you back here tomorrow at 7:15 a.m. Central for Wake Up Wednesday. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Keep moving forward. The transformation will come. Thanks, Brian and Jay. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.